custom builders are lying to you. And I've personally experienced this enough at recent chopper events that I wanted to not so much call anyone out on their or start some drama. No, you've got the Bachelorette for that. More so see if we can kind of right the course of this trend. So in this video, I'm going to share what this lie is, how I think the whole custom culture got here, and what needs to be done to correct this. Now bear in mind, I have been building these bikes for 20 years and I've never needed anyone's help because I was born knowing how to weld and paint, unlike you peasants. I'm totally freaking kidding. I literally started my whole motorcycle career because I couldn't keep a job selling dog food
chow down
or selling bedazzled jeans with skulls on the freaking pockets. And if it weren't for being able to learn from and collaborate with some really awesome people, I wouldn't have been able to build the bikes I have or come out with the hundreds of products I've designed. Just like I need you to collaborate with me by hitting the like button. Otherwise, your feed will get choked to death by clanker AI slop. Liking helps the channel a lot, and it tells me I'm making content that you enjoy, and as a way of saying thank you, I will not bring out my toenail clipping collection. Yet. That's for my Spicy Link subscribers. So what is this lie that custom builders are peddling? Custom builders. And why do I keep putting cheesy air quotes around custom builders? Well, let me share the story.
No, there is too much. Let me sum up.
The last few custom motorcycle events I went to, something weird has been happening. I've now encountered this a few times where I go up to a guy who has a really cool bike or an aspect about it that caught my eye, and I want to hear the story. So I go up to people and I'll ask, what's the story about your bike, man? But then the guy starts telling me he's CNC machined this and laser cut that and hand hammered this thing and designed the headlight in AutoCAD. But I know damn good and well the axle plates are made by my friend's company, the headlights made by a very well-known builder who made literally only 20 of those lights, and the part he claims he designed in CAD is actually a stock modified part from a Sporty. I can still see the Harley-Davidson part number on it, bro. I'm thinking, dude, why are you lying? You seem super cool. This date was going so well. Then you had to be a bitch. And I don't think I'm ever gonna get laid now. But for real, in my mind, I'm thinking, you don't gotta lie to kick it, dude. The guys who made those parts are dope dudes. They've put a lot of time and effort into making really good so that people can have cool looking bikes and not have to invest in a metal foundry just to have rad foot pegs. But this isn't just one instance. There were several other cases of, we'll call it stolen valor from custom builders. Conversations where the part in question I purchased from the man who makes them himself. Like that part you have, I've actually bought that from the guy that makes them. So you can't tell me you made that. Now this is happening frequently enough where I thought, what the hell is going on? Why are people doing this? Am I the only one noticing this? And you know what, dude? I really want to know. If I'm not the only one who's experienced this, tell me in the freaking comments, please. So how did we get here? Here's how I think custom culture maybe got here. And to understand how we got here, we must first understand here, who, where got he.
If they just paid 24% or 25%, either one of those numbers, they'd raise $500 million, billion dollars, I should say.
Which makes perfect sense, The Thing, 8 billion, F-14s. But custom culture has a long and rich history in America. I'm gonna use 3 words to describe it. Sparkles, tassels, and butts. And how do you make those work together? Community and collaboration. But zero diversity and inclusion, this is after all, a shrub culture. Now, jokes aside, when dudes started customizing bikes back in the first half of the 1900s, there was no free 17-second freaking shipping, nor was there an algorithm telling you you're too small. You guys get those too, right? That you had to learn and purchase within your location. Total geographic limitation here. You had to reach out to your community through your local motorcycle shop or dealer, if you even had one, and connect with others who had skills to help you achieve the bike you wanted to ride. So custom culture was very DIY, but also extremely collaborative. So then, once you started hitting like the 60s, this tiny subculture is what gave birth to dudes like the Sugar Bears, the Horse Bombergers, Tom Fugel, Arlen Ness, Ben Hardy, Cliff Voss, even names like Big Daddy Roth, Denver, Mondo, and a load more. But if you don't know who those guys are, rewind like it's 1995, go look them up. Those guys spent their lives honing a craft, and they are truly some of the most influential guys in the chopper history. Now, up to this point, most motorcycle print media, which started way back in the early 1900s, focused primarily on like technical discussions, updates, and racing. But the first true dedicated chopper magazine, Choppers, was launched by Ed Big Daddy Roth in '67. Now, it ran until 1970, featuring early custom bike culture and had spots by world-famous artist David Mann. Now, this chopper rag set the stage for even more chopper magazines like Easy Rider, which came out with their first magazine in 1971. Now, it was also around this time that print media around the culture started becoming prevalent and influenced people from their corner store newsstand. So some of these guys I just mentioned built some wild and sometimes did everything on their own. It was the first time anyone had seen motorcycles like these. But many other builds used parts, however hard to acquire, from the few parts makers and builders that were local. In fact, if you look through old chopper magazines, almost every damn build that was featured had a build sheet where the builder called out what brand his transmission is, who did his paint, who welded a sissy bar, and who the ugly sitting on the bike. Probably your grandma, obviously. Now, all this started to create a very badass culture, which we get to enjoy today. So what needs to be done to correct this stealing of the Valor through pure freaking lies? Now look, I know there's a lot of pressure to be a cool guy and have a sick chopper, but dude, you don't need to lie about the parts you bought. I don't know if I should have called these dudes out, maybe just asked, are you sure those aren't from Dope Chopper Stuff Guy's website, you know? Maybe give someone a chance to change their tune? I don't know. Seems like that would be a really good recipe to get a fight started. And I'm all about love. Not everybody here has a Miller Dynasty and a water cooler and a Bridgeport in their garage, and that's okay. You bet your ass I had my bike lying on the garage floor on its side while I went to town with a Harbor Freight grinder. That's where I started. And this is before they even made semi-okay stuff at Harbor Freight. I mean, we're talking this was pure Chinesium garbage that I was working with. And there really wasn't much online back then in the way of parts. So I just made a lot of trips to IMS and Ace Hardware to make my own parts. And when I needed some welding, I hit up Matt Brady. He welded the whole hardtail on double Ds. That frame is still in my rafters right here. And then I need a battery box. So I hit up my boy Chris Fuller. First single backbone chopper I built, well, slimmed at the backbone, the tank, and the bars on that bike. And I still had fun. That doesn't make me any less of a man because I supported those in my community with skills that I did not yet possess. Now, I really think we need to be more supportive of folks asking for help and make it known it's okay if you support a guy by buying his parts for your bike. That's fine, it's cool. I literally built an entire business making parts that allow folks that don't have a ton of skills to make their bikes fun and cool. Now, I'll drop a link to some of the newest parts in the description so you can check that out. And I even built a forum for y'all to come ask all those dumb questions. I'll drop a link in the description for that too. Now, some of the coolest bikes I've ever seen were the culmination of a handful of guys lending their specialized skills and parts to achieve a collective vision for a bike. There is no shame in not being the world's greatest painter, welder, fabricator, machinist, engine builder all in one. Some guys out there are very gifted, but don't think that you need to lie about where the parts came from on your bike. That not only makes you look bad, it takes promo away from the guy who did make his vision for a part come true. Now, I know when I started around with bikes, very few people wanted to help, like hardly no one. Chopper Dave was super nice, and so was this dude Clint, but most people just made fun of me. They called me the Honda guru, paid me no attention because I was messing with the Jap bikes. Bro, you should get a man's bike. But I stayed true to myself through those years as the chopper cool guy, absolute pariah. And now look, I can afford my own beer and dollar tacos on Tuesday. So if you're the guy who whittles the whole chopper out of abalone, or you bought parts you loved and compiled a masterpiece, just tell the truth and state what's factual regardless of what others may think of you. If you're a piece of shit, say it. If you don't know shit, admit it. And you know what magically happens when you're not an insecure liar? People want to help you. When it comes to building bikes, this is something you want to do with friends, family, and side pieces, because chopping alone, while it can be therapeutic, even the introverts want someone to come up and say, dude, well done, it looks tits. They want to share a beer, you know, and shoot shit about how hard of a journey it was to build the damn thing that now barely runs. And you too can own a dozen bikes and have only one running at a time, just like me. So build it the way you want to, tell the truth, and freaking be yourself. Authenticity is a currency that never experiences inflation. So if you want to reduce insecurity and improve your chances of being a chopper cool guy, subscribe. I'll see you next week. Peace.